She sealed the envelope with trembling hands, pouring her heart out to a man from her past, but the address was wrong, and the letter landed in the hands of a reclusive millionaire CEO who hadn't felt alive in 3 years. What started as a beautiful mistake turned into a whirlwind romance that had everyone talking, until his cousin accused her of being a gold digger right to her face, and the man she loved sat there in silence. Twice he failed her, twice he proved he was too afraid to fight, and twice she walked away with her heart in pieces. But then he did something that shocked the entire internet, a public declaration that risked everything he'd built, a grand gesture that would either prove his love was real or destroy them both forever. This is the story of a wrong address that led to the right person, of letters that built a love so powerful it had to be tested by fire, and of 2 people who learned that sometimes the greatest risk is the one worth taking. Subscribe right now and comment where you're watching from, because what happens next will restore your faith in second chances, and trust me, you won't want to miss a single twist. The pen felt heavy in Ava's hand. She sat at her small kitchen table, the one with the wobbly leg she kept meaning to fix. Outside her apartment window, the city hummed with its usual Tuesday evening sounds, car horns, distant music, someone laughing down on the street, but Ava heard none of it. She stared at the blank paper in front of her, white, clean, waiting. Her dark fingers trembled slightly as she finally pressed pen to paper. The first words came slowly, then faster. Then they poured out like water from a broken pipe. Dear Marcus, I've been thinking about you for 3 years. 3 whole years since we worked together at the bookstore. I know this letter might seem crazy. Maybe it is. But I can't keep these feelings locked inside anymore. I remember how you'd smile when you sorted the romance novels. You'd tease me about reading them. But you never made me feel stupid for loving happy endings. You made me feel seen. I've tried to forget you. I've tried to move on. But every time I see a bookstore, I think of you. Every time I smell coffee, I remember our morning shifts together. Maybe we could try something. Maybe there's still a chance for us. With hope, Ava. She read it 3 times. Her heart pounded hard against her ribs. This was vulnerable. This was terrifying. This was everything she usually kept buried deep inside. But she was 27 now. She was tired of being afraid. Ava folded the letter carefully. She slid it into a cream-colored envelope. Her hands shook as she addressed it, pulling Marcus's address from her phone. She'd saved it years ago, when they'd exchanged information for some work thing. She'd never deleted it. The envelope sealed with a soft sound. Final. Done. No taking it back now. Ava grabbed her keys and rushed out before she could change her mind. The mailbox on the corner gleamed blue under the streetlight. She stood in front of it for a full minute, the envelope clutched in both hands. Just do it, she whispered to herself. Just send it. She dropped it through the slot. Relief washed over her like cool water on a hot day. It was done. Whatever happened next, at least she'd been brave. At least she'd tried. Ava walked home with lighter steps. She didn't notice the number she'd written, didn't see that in her nervous rush she'd switched 2 digits. The address was wrong, completely wrong. 2 days passed like molasses. Slow, thick, heavy. Ava threw herself into work at the community center where she taught art classes to kids. She focused on mixing paints, cleaning brushes, helping little hands create big dreams on small canvases. But her mind kept wandering. Had Marcus gotten the letter? What did he think? Would he reply? Should she have been less intense? Thursday evening, she trudged up the stairs to her second-floor apartment. Her bag felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Her feet ached. She just wanted to collapse on her couch with some ice cream and terrible reality TV, but there was something in her mailbox. An envelope, thick paper, expensive-looking. Her name written across the front in bold, masculine handwriting that definitely wasn't Marcus's. Ava's stomach flipped. She grabbed it with shaking hands and hurried inside. She didn't even take off her shoes, just ripped the envelope open right there in her tiny entryway. The paper inside was heavy, real stationery, the kind people didn't use anymore. The handwriting was neat, careful, strong. Dear Ava, I don't know you. You don't know me, but your letter reached me at exactly the right time. For 3 years, I've been closed off, shut down, going through the motions of life without really living. Your words, meant for someone else, broke through that wall. You wrote about hope, about taking chances, about not being afraid of happy endings. I'd forgotten those things were possible. Your letter reminded me. I know this is strange. I know you meant to write to someone named Marcus, but something bigger happened here, something neither of us planned. Would you be willing to meet me? Just once? I need to thank you in person for giving me back something I thought I'd lost forever. With gratitude, Daniel Cross Ava read it twice, then 3 times, then a 4th. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. This wasn't Marcus. This was a complete stranger. A stranger who'd gotten her letter by mistake. A stranger who'd not only read her most vulnerable words, but had been moved by them. She felt exposed, embarrassed, mortified, but also curious. Who was Daniel Cross? Why had her letter affected him so much? What had he lost? She was still standing in her entryway holding the letter when her doorbell rang. Ava jumped. Her heart slammed against her chest. She wasn't expecting anyone. Maya had her own key anyway. The doorbell rang again. She approached the door slowly, carefully. She looked through the peephole. A man stood in the hallway. Tall, white, maybe early 30s. Dark hair, neat and styled. He wore an expensive-looking grey sweater and dark jeans. His face was handsome in that sharp, serious way. Strong jaw, straight nose, eyes that looked tired even through the distorted peephole lens. He held roses, a dozen of them, deep red, and in his other hand, he held a piece of paper. Even through the peephole, Ava recognized her own handwriting, her letter. Oh God, she breathed. She backed away from the door. Her mind raced. This was him, Daniel Cross. He was here, at her apartment, with roses, with her letter. This was insane. The doorbell rang a 3rd time. Hello? His voice was deep, gentle. Ava? I know this is unexpected. I'm Daniel. I wrote you back. I needed to see you. Ava pressed her hand against her racing heart. This was crazy. This was dangerous. This was something her sister Maya would absolutely kill her for. But his voice didn't sound threatening. It sounded nervous, hopeful, almost as scared as she felt. She opened the door. Daniel Cross looked even better in person. His eyes were blue-gray, like a storm cloud. They locked onto hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. Up close, she could see the exhaustion in his face, the shadows under his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. This was a man carrying weight, heavy weight. Hi, he said softly. He held out the roses. I'm sorry for showing up like this. I'm sorry if this is too much. But when I read your letter, something inside me woke up. I couldn't just send a note and leave it at that. Ava stared at him, at the roses, at her letter in his hand. That letter wasn't meant for you, she whispered. I know. Daniel's expression flickered. Sadness, understanding, something deeper. But maybe it was supposed to find me anyway. They stood there in her doorway. 2 strangers connected by a mistake, by wrong numbers and fate and the courage to write down vulnerable truths. Why? Ava asked. Her voice came out stronger now. Why did you come here? Why does this matter so much to you? Daniel looked down at the roses, then back at her. His eyes held something raw, something real. Because I haven't felt anything in 3 years. Because I've been dead inside, going through the motions. Because your words about hope and second chances and happy endings made me remember what it felt like to be alive. He paused. And because I need to know if you're real, if this feeling is real. Ava's throat tightened. She shouldn't let him in. She shouldn't trust this. Maya would tell her to slam the door, to call the police, to run. But something in Daniel's eyes stopped her. A matching vulnerability. A mirror of her own fear and hope tangled together. I don't even know you, she said. Then let me fix that. Daniel held out the roses again. Have dinner with me tomorrow night, somewhere public, anywhere you choose. Just give me one chance to thank you properly. Thank me for what? For sending a love letter to the wrong address. For reminding me that I still have a heart. The words hung in the air between them. Heavy, true, impossible to ignore. Ava took the roses. Their fingers brushed, just for a second, but it sent electricity up her arm. One dinner, she heard herself say. Somewhere public. Daniel's face transformed. The exhaustion lifted slightly. His mouth curved into a small, genuine smile. It changed his whole appearance, made him look younger, lighter, beautiful. Thank you, he said. Thank you, Ava. He gave her his phone number. She gave him hers. They made plans for Friday evening at a restaurant downtown. Safe, busy, normal. Then Daniel left, walking backward down the hallway like he couldn't quite take his eyes off her. At the stairs, he turned, disappeared. Ava stood in her doorway, holding a dozen red roses and a letter from a stranger. Her whole body trembled. What had she just done? Friday morning arrived with bright sunshine and cold sweat. Ava sat at her sister's breakfast table, pushing scrambled eggs around her plate. Maya's apartment was bigger than hers, with actual room for a dining table and chairs. The kitchen smelled like coffee and butter, and Maya's famous cinnamon toast. Normally, Ava loved their Friday morning tradition, just the two sisters, catching up on life before the weekend started. Today, her stomach twisted into knots. "You're quiet," Maya said. She was 25, 2 years younger than Ava, but somehow seemed older, more cautious, more suspicious of the world. Her dark eyes studied Ava across the table. "What's wrong?" Ava set down her fork, took a breath. "I met someone." Maya's eyebrows rose. "Met someone? Like dating someone?" "Maybe. I don't know yet. We're having dinner tonight." "That's great," Maya smiled. Then the smile faded. "Wait, why do you look terrified?" Ava told her everything. The letter to Marcus, the wrong address, Daniel's reply, the roses, the doorbell. With each sentence, Maya's face grew darker, harder, more worried. "Let me get this straight," Maya said slowly. "A random man got a love letter meant for someone else. Then he showed up at your apartment, with roses, and now you're having dinner with him. It's not like that. Ava, this is how horror movies start. He's not dangerous. I can tell." "You can tell?" Maya leaned forward. "You met him for 5 minutes at your front door. You don't know anything about him." "I know he's hurting. I know he's been closed off for years. I know my letter meant something to him. Or he's running a scam." Maya's voice went sharp, protective. "Or he's obsessed. Or he's playing some weird game. Ava, you don't just show up at someone's house because you got a letter by accident. People do surprising things when they're desperate for connection." "Desperate is right." Maya stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. She crossed her arms. "What's this guy's name again?" "Daniel Cross." Maya pulled out her phone, started typing. Her face stayed hard, focused. After a minute, she looked up. Daniel Cross, CEO of Cross Industries, real estate development, net worth in the millions. She turned her phone around. "This him?" Ava looked at the screen. It was a professional photo from some business website. Daniel in a suit, no smile, cold, professional, nothing like the man who'd stood in her doorway with roses and vulnerable eyes. "Yes," Ava said quietly. "He's rich, Ava, really rich, and white, and powerful." Maya set the phone down hard. "Men like that don't fall for women like us. They don't show up with roses and romantic letters. They use people. You don't know him. Neither do you." Maya's voice rose, then softened. She sat back down, reaching for Ava's hands. "Look, I love you. You're my big sister. You've always been the one who believes in people, who sees the good in everyone, and that's beautiful. But sometimes people take advantage of that. So I should just never trust anyone? You should be careful, especially with men who have everything to gain and nothing to lose." Ava pulled her hands back. She stood up. The eggs sat cold and untouched on her plate. "I'm going to dinner with him," she said. "I'll be careful. I'll stay in public, but I'm going." Maya's face crumpled. Fear, frustration, love all mixed together. "Just promise me you'll text me every hour. Let me know you're safe." "I promise." Ava left Maya's apartment with her sister's words ringing in her ears. Men like that don't fall for women like us. But what if Maya was wrong? What if sometimes connection happened in unexpected ways? What if that letter was supposed to find Daniel? What if this was the start of something real? The restaurant Daniel chose was perfect. Not too fancy, not too casual. Warm lighting, soft music, the kind of place where people laughed and talked and didn't notice anyone else. Ava arrived 10 minutes early. She wore a simple navy dress that Maya had helped her pick out years ago. Her natural hair was styled in twists that framed her face. Light makeup, small gold earrings. She felt beautiful and terrified. Daniel was already there. He stood when he saw her, his face lighting up in that same transformation she'd seen at her door. The exhaustion fell away. The walls came down. "You came," he said. "You doubted?" "Every second since you said yes." They sat, ordered drinks. Water for her, scotch for him. The first few minutes were awkward, stilted. Two strangers trying to find common ground across a table. Then Daniel said, "Tell me about the bookstore." Ava blinked. "What? In your letter, you mentioned working at a bookstore with Marcus. What was that like?" And just like that, Ava started talking. She told him about the small shop in her old neighborhood, the smell of paper and coffee, the regular customers who became like family, the way Marcus would make her laugh during slow shifts. Daniel listened, really listened. His grey-blue eyes never left her face. He asked questions, wanted details. made her feel like every word mattered. "You loved it," he said softly. "I did, before the owner retired and closed it down. Now I teach art at a community center. It's good, meaningful, but different." "What do you teach?" "Painting, drawing, whatever the kids want to learn. Mostly I just give them space to be creative, to express themselves." "That's beautiful." Ava felt her cheeks warm. "What about you? What does a CEO do all day?" Daniel's face shifted, closed off a little. "Mostly, I sit in meetings, sign papers, make decisions about buildings and money and investments. He paused. "It's empty." "Empty? I built a company, made a lot of money, bought a big house, did everything I was supposed to do, but somewhere along the way, I forgot why I was doing it. I forgot what it felt like to care about something." "What changed?" Daniel looked at her, really looked. "Your letter." The waiter brought their food. They ate slowly, talking between bites. Daniel told her about his cousin Thomas, who worked for him and worried too much. About Clara, his housekeeper, who'd been trying to get him to smile for years. About the estate he lived in that felt more like a museum than a home. Ava talked about Maya, about teaching, about her tiny apartment with the wobbly table, and her dreams of maybe opening her own gallery someday. The conversation flowed like water, easy, natural, right. When dinner ended, they sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Daniel said, "Can I be honest with you? Please. I haven't felt this alive in 3 years, since my fiancée left me. She said I was too closed off, too focused on work, too afraid to really let her in. She was right. I shut down after that, built walls, decided it was safer not to feel anything." His voice dropped. "Then your letter arrived and those walls started crumbling." Ava's heart ached. "I'm sorry she hurt you. I'm sorry I let it turn me into someone I didn't recognize." Daniel reached across the table. His hand stopped just short of hers. "But I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to waste more years being half alive." Ava looked at his hand. So close. She could reach out, close the distance, take a chance. She did. Their fingers intertwined. His skin was warm, his grip gentle but firm. That same electricity from before sparked between them. "I don't want you to go," Daniel whispered. "I'm still here. I mean after tonight, after this dinner ends. I don't want to lose this feeling." Ava squeezed his hand. Her heart pounded. Her mind raced. Maya's warnings echoed. But stronger than the fear was something else. Hope, possibility, connection. "Then don't let go," she said. Ava got home late. After dinner, Daniel had walked her to her car. They'd stood in the parking garage, neither wanting to leave. They'd talked for another hour, about books, about dreams, about the strange way fate sometimes worked. He'd asked to see her again. Tomorrow, the next day, whenever she was free. She'd said yes. Now she unlocked her apartment door and stepped inside. The space felt different somehow. Smaller, fuller, like something had shifted in the universe while she was gone. She turned on the lights, kicked off her shoes, started getting ready for bed. That's when she saw it. A piece of paper, folded carefully, had been slipped under her door. Ava picked it up with shaking hands, unfolded it. Daniel's handwriting, bold, clear, beautiful. "Come back tomorrow, please. The house is empty without you now." Ava pressed the note to her chest. A smile spread across her face. Huge, unstoppable. She texted Maya, "I'm home, I'm safe, and I'm happy." Maya's response came fast. "We need to talk about this." But Ava was already in bed, clutching the note, replaying every moment of the evening in her mind. Daniel's laugh, his stories, the way he'd looked at her like she was the only person in the world. Tomorrow she'd go to his house. She'd see where he lived, learn more about this man who'd stumbled into her life through a mistake. Maybe Maya was wrong. Maybe sometimes the wrong address was exactly right. Maybe sometimes strangers were just future loved ones you hadn't met yet. Ava fell asleep smiling. Saturday afternoon found Ava driving through a part of the city she rarely visited. The houses got bigger, the lawns more perfect, the gates more imposing. Daniel's estate sat at the end of a long tree-lined drive. The gates were open, waiting for her. Ava's hands gripped the steering wheel tight. This was really happening. She was really doing this. She pulled up to the main house and gasped. It was beautiful, modern but warm. Glass and stone and wood all blending together. Gardens stretched out on either side, lush and green even in late fall. A fountain sparkled in the circular driveway. This was where Daniel lived. This was his world. Ava suddenly felt very small, very out of place. But before she could spiral too far, the front door opened. Daniel stepped out. He wore jeans and a simple grey t-shirt, no shoes. His hair was slightly messy. He looked approachable, real. He smiled. That smile pulled Ava out of the car and up the steps like a magnet. "You came," Daniel said again. "You asked. Come inside. Let me show you around." The house was stunning inside. High ceilings, huge windows, art on the walls. But it felt cold too. Empty. Like no one really lived here. Like it was a showroom instead of a home. Daniel saw her looking. "It's too much, isn't it? It's beautiful. But it doesn't feel like you." Daniel's eyes widened. "How can you tell? You barely know me." "I know enough." Ava touched a pristine white couch. "This house is perfect, but you're not looking for perfect. You're looking for real." Something shifted in Daniel's expression. Surprise, recognition, relief. "Come with me," he said. "I want to show you something." He led her through the house and out the back doors. The gardens were even more impressive from this angle. Paths wound between flower beds. Trees provided shade. A small pond reflected the sky. They walked in silence for a while. Then Daniel stopped at a bench overlooking the pond. "I bought this place 5 years ago," he said. "Right before I proposed to Sarah. I thought it would be our dream home, our forever place." He sat down. Ava sat beside him. But she hated it, said it was too big, too showy, too empty. I told her we'd fill it together, but we never got the chance. What happened? She left. Said I was more interested in building an empire than building a life with her. Said I used work as an excuse to avoid real intimacy. Daniel's voice cracked slightly. The worst part? She was right. Ava reached for his hand. He took it gratefully. "After she left, I threw myself even deeper into work, expanded the company, made more money, bought more things, but none of it mattered. I was just going through the motions, existing, but not living. Until the letter. Until your letter." Daniel turned to face her. The vulnerability in his eyes made Ava's breath catch. "You wrote about hope, about taking chances, about believing in happy endings even when you're scared. I'd forgotten how to do any of that. But reading your words, I remembered." "Remembered what?" "That I used to be someone who believed in love, who took risks, who opened his heart even when it was terrifying." He squeezed her hand. "You've given me back hope, Ava. You've reminded me what it feels like to want something more than success or safety." Tears pricked Ava's eyes. "I was so embarrassed when I realized you weren't Marcus. I felt stupid and exposed and vulnerable." "Don't be embarrassed. That letter was beautiful, brave, real, everything I'd stopped being." They sat in the garden as the afternoon sun slanted through the trees. Birds sang, water rippled. The world felt soft and safe. Ava rested her head on Daniel's shoulder. He wrapped his arm around her. "This is crazy," she whispered. 2 days ago you were a stranger. The best things in life usually are crazy. My sister thinks you're going to hurt me." "Your sister sounds protective." "She is." "Good. You deserve people who look out for you." Daniel pressed a kiss to the top of her head. Gentle, careful. "But I promise you, Ava, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here because for the first time in 3 years, I feel like myself again." Ava closed her eyes, breathed in the smell of his cologne, felt the warmth of his body next to hers. Maybe this was crazy. Maybe Maya was right to worry. Maybe trusting a stranger was the most foolish thing she'd ever done. But sitting in Daniel's garden, feeling his heartbeat steady against her cheek, Ava couldn't bring herself to care. Sometimes the best things happened by mistake. Sometimes wrong addresses led to right places. Sometimes strangers were just the love stories waiting to unfold. "Stay a while," Daniel murmured. "Stay as long as you want." Ava smiled against his shoulder. "Okay." And in that moment, with the sun warm on her face and Daniel's arms around her, Ava felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Real, terrifying, beautiful hope. The next morning, Ava found an envelope on her doorstep. She'd woken early, still wearing yesterday's clothes. She'd fallen asleep on her couch after getting home from Daniel's estate, too full of emotion to even change into pajamas. Her phone showed 3 missed calls from Maya and a string of worried texts, but the envelope pushed everything else from her mind. Ava picked it up with careful hands, the same thick paper, the same bold handwriting. Inside was a single page. "Dear Ava, last night after you left, I walked through my garden again, but this time it felt different, alive, full of possibility. Because you'd been there. I spent 3 years turning this place into a fortress. keeping everyone out, keeping myself locked in. Yesterday you walked through those walls like they were made of paper. Thank you for staying. Thank you for listening. Thank you for seeing me, the real me, underneath all the emptiness I'd built. I'm writing this at 3 a.m. because I can't sleep. Because my mind is full of you. Your smile. Your laugh. The way you understand things I don't even have to say. Write back, please. Yours, Daniel. Ava pressed the letter to her chest. Her heart swelled so big she thought it might burst right through her ribs. She sat down at her wobbly kitchen table, pulled out her own paper and pen, started writing. The words flowed easier this time. No fear, no hesitation, just truth. She told him about waking up happy, about reading his letter 5 times, about how strange and wonderful it felt to connect with someone so quickly. She told him she was scared, but also excited, also hopeful. She told him yes, she'd write back, as many times as he wanted. Ava drove to Daniel's estate before work, left the letter tucked in his mailbox, drove away smiling. That evening, there was another letter on her doorstep, and the next morning another, and the next. They fell into a rhythm. Letters every day, sometimes twice a day. Daniel wrote about his childhood, about his parents who'd passed away young, about building his company from nothing, about the loneliness that had swallowed him whole after Sarah left. Ava wrote about growing up with Maya, about their parents who worked 3 jobs between them to keep food on the table, about art class in high school that saved her life, about dreams she'd buried because they seemed too big. Each letter revealed more, peeled back more layers, built something real and solid between them. They still saw each other too. Dinners, walks in his garden, coffee on her lunch breaks. But the letters made everything deeper, more intimate. Words on paper carried weight that spoken words sometimes couldn't. Ava felt herself falling, fast, hard, completely, and it terrified her. Wednesday afternoon, Ava sat in a small cafe downtown. She'd promised Maya they'd meet for lunch, try to talk things through. Maya was worried. Ava understood that, but she also needed her sister to understand. This thing with Daniel was real. Maya arrived 10 minutes late, her face tight with stress. She worked as a paralegal at a big law firm. The hours were brutal, the pressure constant, but she was good at it, smart, driven, just like everything else Maya did. They ordered sandwiches and tea, made small talk about work and weather and nothing important. Then Maya pulled out her phone, set it on the table between them. "What's this?" Ava asked. Daniel Cross's social media, his business profiles, articles about him. Maya's voice was calm but firm. "I've been doing research." "Maya, just listen, please." Maya scrolled through her phone. 3 years ago, he was engaged to Sarah Mitchell. She's from old money, connected family. They were the perfect power couple. Then she left him. The breakup was quiet, private, but people talk. "I know about Sarah. He told me." "Did he tell you why she really left?" Ava's stomach tightened. "She said he was too closed off, too focused on work." "That's part of it." Maya turned her phone around, showed Ava an old gossip column. "But there's more. Rumors that he was controlling, that he wanted to mold her into the perfect CEO's wife, that he cared more about appearances than actual connection. Rumors aren't facts." "No, but patterns are." Maya leaned forward. "Ava, you're getting these romantic letters, these grand gestures, but what do you really know about him? What has he actually shown you besides words on paper and a pretty house?" Ava felt heat rise in her cheeks. "He's shown me his heart." "Has he? Or has he shown you what you want to see?" Maya's eyes softened. "Look, I'm not saying he's a bad person, but I am saying you need to be careful. Men with money and power don't fall for women like us. I know. You've said it before." "Because it's true." Maya reached across the table, took Ava's hand. "You have the biggest heart of anyone I know. You see the good in people. You believe in second chances and happy endings. And I love that about you. But sometimes people take advantage of that goodness. Daniel isn't taking advantage of me." "How do you know?" The question hung heavy between them. How did Ava know? What evidence did she have besides feelings, besides letters and kisses in gardens and the way Daniel looked at her? But wasn't that enough? Weren't feelings real? "I just know," Ava said quietly. Maya sighed, squeezed Ava's hand. "Then I'll support you. I'll worry, but I'll support you. Just promise me you'll keep your eyes open. Don't get so lost in the romance that you miss warning signs." "I promise." But as Ava left the cafe, Maya's words clung to her like cobwebs, sticky, uncomfortable, hard to shake off. What did she really know about Daniel? Was she being naive? Was this whole thing moving too fast? That evening she found another letter on her doorstep, but this time, opening it felt different, tainted by doubt. Dearest Ava, I need to tell you something I haven't told anyone. Not even Thomas or Clara, not even Sarah back when we were together. When I was 16, my parents died in a car accident. One moment they were here, the next, gone. I shut down after that. Built walls so high nothing could hurt me again. Sarah tried to reach me. She tried for 2 years, but I kept her at arm's length. I thought if I never let her all the way in, I'd be safe, protected. But all I did was suffocate the love between us. She left because I never truly let her see me. The scared kid, the lonely man, the person hiding behind success and control. But with you, Ava, the walls are gone. I don't know how. I don't know why. But when I'm with you, I'm not afraid anymore. I wanted you to know that, to understand that what we have is different, real, raw. I'm not hiding with you. For the first time in my life, I'm completely exposed, and it's terrifying. And it's the most alive I've ever felt. Always, Daniel. Ava read it twice. Tears blurred her vision. This wasn't manipulation. This was truth. Painful, vulnerable truth. Maya's warnings faded. Daniel's words were too real, too raw, too full of the same fear and hope Ava felt. She wrote back immediately, told him she understood, told him she was scared too, told him they'd figure it out together. One honest letter at a time. Thursday evening, Daniel invited Ava to dinner at his estate. I want you to meet some people, he'd said. If that's okay, Ava agreed, but nerves twisted her stomach as she drove through those familiar gates. Meeting people meant this was real, serious, moving forward. Clara answered the door. She was exactly as Daniel had described, warm, motherly, with kind eyes and graying hair pulled into a neat bun. She wore a simple dress and an apron dusted with flour. You must be Ava, Clara said. Her smile was genuine, real. Daniel hasn't stopped talking about you. Good things, I hope. The best things. Clara stepped aside. Come in, dear. He's in the sitting room. But first, she caught Ava's hand. Thank you. For what? For bringing him back to life. I've worked for Daniel for 5 years. I've watched him turn into a ghost. But these past 2 weeks, he's been different, present, happy. Clara's eyes glistened. You did that. Ava's throat tightened. He did it himself. I just wrote a letter. Sometimes that's all it takes. The right words at the right time. Clara squeezed her hand. Go on, he's waiting. Ava found Daniel in a bright sitting room she hadn't seen before. He stood by the window, hands in his pockets, staring out at the garden. He looked good in dark jeans and a deep blue sweater that made his eyes even more striking. He turned when she entered. That smile, that transformation, that light. Hi, he said. Hi yourself. He crossed the room in 3 strides, pulled her into his arms, held her close. Ava breathed in his scent, felt his heartbeat against her cheek. I missed you, he murmured into her hair. It's been 12 hours. 12 hours too long. They stood like that for a moment, connected, safe, together. Then footsteps sounded in the hallway. Daniel pulled back slightly. His expression shifted, guarded, tense. That's Thomas, he said. My cousin. He's protective. I remember you mentioning him. Just know he can be intense. But he means well. The door opened. A man walked in. Tall, white, early 30s. He had Daniel's build but sharper features, harder eyes. He wore an expensive suit like armor. His gaze swept over Ava with cold assessment. Thomas, this is Ava, Daniel said. His hand found hers, held tight. Ava, this is my cousin Thomas. He's my business partner and closest friend. Nice to meet you, Ava said. She extended her free hand. Thomas shook it, brief, firm, dismissive. Likewise, they sat down for dinner. Clara served roasted chicken with vegetables and fresh bread. The food was delicious. The conversation was torture. Thomas asked pointed questions. Where did Ava work? What did her parents do? Where did she grow up? Each question felt like a test, like he was looking for ways she didn't measure up. Daniel tried to redirect, talked about Ava's art, her teaching, her passion for helping kids find creative outlets. Thomas nodded politely, but his eyes stayed cold. So you're a teacher, Thomas said. That must be fulfilling. The way he said fulfilling made it sound like an insult. It is, Ava said evenly. I get to watch kids discover their talents, help them express themselves. That's worth more than money. Of course, Thomas sipped his wine, though money does help, with rent, Bills, living expenses. Thomas, Daniel said quietly. A warning. I'm just making conversation. Thomas set down his glass, looked directly at Ava. It must be quite different from Daniel's world. The estate, the company, the lifestyle. It is different, Ava agreed. But different doesn't mean incompatible, doesn't it? Thomas leaned back. Daniel's life comes with certain expectations, demands, pressures. It takes a specific kind of person to handle that. What kind of person? Someone who understands the weight of wealth, the responsibilities, the sharks circling anyone with money. The implication hung in the air like smoke. Heavy, toxic, clear. Thomas thought she was a shark, circling Daniel's money. Ava's hands clenched in her lap. Heat flooded her face. Not embarrassment, anger. I'm not after Daniel's money, she said. Her voice stayed calm even as rage built inside. I didn't even know who he was when we met. But you know now. Thomas's smile didn't reach his eyes. And that changes things, doesn't it? Suddenly there's motivation beyond romance. Thomas, that's enough. Daniel's voice went hard. Ava is my guest. You will treat her with respect. I'm treating her with honesty. Thomas stood, which is more than some people deserve. He left the room. The door closed firmly behind him. Silence fell like a hammer. Ava couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Humiliation burned through her veins. She pushed back from the table, stood on shaking legs. I should go. Ava, wait. Daniel reached for her. He thinks I'm using you. Her voice cracked. He thinks I'm some gold digger who sent that letter as a trap. He doesn't know you. He's just protective. He's right to be protective. Tears stung Ava's eyes. We barely know each other. This whole thing is crazy. Maybe I am moving too fast. Maybe this is all a mistake. It's not a mistake. Daniel stood, moved toward her. Ava, please, don't let Thomas ruin this. He didn't ruin anything. He just said what everyone's probably thinking. What Maya thinks. What I should be thinking. Ava grabbed her purse. I need to leave. Let me walk you out. Let me explain. Explain what? That your cousin thinks I'm a con artist? That he'll probably spend the next week investigating me? That everyone in your life will look at me the same way? She backed toward the door. This was stupid. I was stupid. You weren't stupid. You were brave. Brave is just another word for naive. Ava fled, through the hallway, past Clara's worried face, out the front door into the cool night air. Daniel followed. She heard him calling her name, but she didn't stop, couldn't stop. The humiliation was too fresh, too raw. She reached her car, fumbled with her keys, finally got the door open. Daniel caught up. His hand touched her shoulder, gentle, pleading. Ava, wait. Please, just wait. She turned. Tears streamed down her face now. Hot, angry, hurt. What do you want me to say, Daniel? That it's okay your cousin accused me of being a scammer? That I'm fine with being judged and questioned and treated like I'm not good enough? You are good enough. You're better than good enough. Then why didn't you defend me? The words ripped out of her, raw, painful, true. Thomas stood there and basically called me a gold digger, and you just sat there, silent, like maybe part of you agrees with him. Daniel's face crumpled. That's not true. I was shocked. I didn't know what to say. You say, Thomas, you're wrong. Ava is here because we care about each other. Not because of money, not because of status, because of something real. Ava wiped her eyes. But you didn't say any of that. You hesitated, and that hesitation tells me everything. I'm sorry. Ava, I'm so sorry. I should have said something stronger. I need to go. Don't leave like this, please. Let's talk about this. Let me make it right. But Ava was already in her car, starting the engine, pulling away. In her rearview mirror, she saw Daniel standing in the driveway, alone, devastated, exactly how she felt. Ava cried the whole way home, big, ugly sobs that shook her whole body. She couldn't remember the last time she'd felt this hurt, this betrayed, this stupid. Maya had been right. Daniel's world wasn't her world. The gap between them wasn't just money or status. It was trust, protection, the willingness to stand up and fight for someone. Daniel had hesitated, and that hesitation proved he wasn't ready for this, for her, for anything real. She pulled into her apartment complex, stumbled up the stairs, collapsed on her couch still wearing her coat and shoes. Her phone buzzed. Daniel calling, she ignored it. It buzzed again. A text this time. Please let me explain. Thomas was out of line. I should have stopped him sooner. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Another text. You're not a mistake. This isn't a mistake. What we have is real, please believe that. And another. I'm falling for you, Ava. I'm terrified and confused and falling so hard. Please don't give up on us. Ava stared at the messages. Her heart ached. Part of her wanted to call him back, forgive him, go back to those perfect letters and garden walks, and the feeling of being cherished. But another part, the part that sounded like Maya, whispered warnings, told her to protect herself, to run before she got hurt worse. She turned off her phone, went to bed, cried into her pillow until exhaustion finally pulled her under. The next morning, Ava called in sick to work. She couldn't face the kids' bright faces and hopeful questions, couldn't pretend everything was fine when her heart felt shattered. She stayed in bed until noon, then forced herself up, made coffee, stared at nothing. Her doorbell rang around 2. Ava considered ignoring it, but the bell rang again. Insistent, she dragged herself to the door, looked through the peephole. Clara stood in the hallway, alone. She held a covered dish and wore a gentle expression. Ava opened the door. I hope you don't mind me coming, Clara said. Daniel gave me your address. I brought soup. Figured you might need some comfort food. Despite everything, Ava smiled, slightly. Thank you. May I come in? Just for a minute? Ava stepped aside, let Clara into her small apartment. Suddenly she saw it through new eyes. The worn furniture, the wobbly table, the cheap decorations. Nothing like Daniel's pristine estate, but Clara didn't seem to notice. She set the soup on the counter, turned to face Ava with those kind, knowing eyes. I'm so sorry about Thomas, Clara said. He was completely out of line. He was honest. He was cruel. There's a difference. Clara moved closer. Ava, I've known Daniel for 5 years. I've watched him turn into a shell of himself after Sarah left. He stopped smiling, stopped laughing, stopped feeling anything. I know, he told me. But did he tell you what happened when you came into his life? Clara's voice softened. The first night after he got your letter, I heard him humming. I hadn't heard that in years. Then he started smiling at breakfast, asking about my family, actually caring about the world around him. Tears pricked Ava's eyes again. You woke him up, Clara continued. You brought him back to life. And yes, Thomas is suspicious. Yes, he'll investigate and question and doubt. But Daniel knows the truth. He knows what you've given him. Then why didn't he defend me? Ava's voice broke. Why did he just sit there while Thomas basically accused me of being a con artist? Because he was shocked. Because he spent 3 years avoiding conflict. Because he's still learning how to fight for something he cares about. Clara took Ava's hands. But make no mistake, dear. That boy is in love with you. Completely. Utterly. Terrifyingly in love. And he's scared to death he's already lost you. Ava's breath caught. Love? We've only known each other 2 weeks. Time doesn't always matter. Sometimes hearts recognize each other instantly. Clara smiled. My husband proposed to me after 3 weeks. We were married 52 years before he passed. Best decision I ever made. I don't know what to do. You don't have to know yet. You're allowed to be hurt, angry, confused. But don't give up without giving him a chance to make this right. That's all I ask. Clara left shortly after. The soup sat on Ava's counter, still warm, still comforting. Ava ate it slowly. Let Clara's words sink in. Let herself feel everything. The hurt, the hope, the fear, the love. Yes, love, because Clara was right. Ava was falling, had already fallen, was completely, terrifyingly in love with Daniel Cross, and that made everything infinitely more complicated. That evening, Ava turned her phone back on. 53 missed calls from Daniel, dozens of texts, 2 voicemails. She listened to the first voicemail. Ava, it's me. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I know I messed up, but please, just please call me back. Let me explain. Let me fix this. I can't lose you, not like this. Not over my own stupidity. A pause. Heavy breathing. I'm falling in love with you. I know that's crazy. I know it's too soon, but it's true. And I need you to know that. Even if you never want to see me again, you need to know you're loved. The message ended. Ava sat frozen. He'd said it. Out loud. In a voicemail. Not in a perfect letter or romantic moment. Just raw and real and desperate. The second voicemail was shorter. Please come over tomorrow. Even if just to tell me you're done. I have something I need to show you. Something I should have shown you from the beginning. Please, Ava. One more chance. That's all I'm asking. Ava closed her eyes, took a long breath. Tomorrow, she could give him tomorrow. One last conversation. One final chance to see if this was real or just a beautiful mistake. She texted back, I'll come over tomorrow evening. 6 p.m. His response came immediately. "Thank you, I'll be waiting." Ava spent the rest of the night trying not to think about what tomorrow would bring, trying not to hope too hard, trying to protect her already bruised heart. But deep down, she knew. She was going to give him another chance. Because love made you do stupid, brave, terrifying things. And because maybe, just maybe, Daniel Cross was worth the risk. Saturday evening arrived with grey skies and a cold wind. Ava drove to Daniel's estate with her stomach in knots. She'd changed outfits 3 times, settled on jeans and a soft burgundy sweater, casual, not trying too hard, ready to walk away if she needed to. Maya had texted her twice. "Be careful. Guard your heart. Come over after if you need to talk." Ava appreciated the concern, but she needed to do this alone, needed to see if Daniel could prove this was real, that she wasn't just some romantic fantasy he'd built from a misdirected letter. The gates were open, waiting. She pulled up the long driveway. Daniel stood on the front steps. He wore dark jeans and a charcoal sweater. His hair was messier than usual. His face showed exhaustion, like he hadn't slept in days. When their eyes met, relief flooded his features, like he'd been afraid she wouldn't actually come. Ava got out of the car slowly, kept her distance, her heart hammered against her ribs. "Hi," Daniel said. His voice was rough, raw. "Hi. Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't." He nodded, accepted that. "I understand. After Thursday night, I wouldn't blame you if you never wanted to see me again." Ava crossed her arms. The evening air bit at her skin. "So why am I here? What did you want to show me?" Daniel stepped forward, stopped when he saw her tense, kept a respectful distance. "I need to explain something first. About Thomas. About Thursday. About why I froze." He took a breath. "When Sarah left, she said I never defended her. Never stood up for her against business partners who looked down on her. Never chose her over maintaining peace. She said I was a coward." Ava said nothing, just listened. She was right. "I let people disrespect her because I was afraid of conflict, afraid of rocking the boat, afraid of losing control." Daniel's voice cracked. "And on Thursday, I did the exact same thing to you. I let Thomas attack you. I sat there frozen. I hesitated when I should have fought." "Yes, you did. I know. And I'm so sorry, Ava. I'm sorry I failed you. I'm sorry I let old patterns take over. I'm sorry I made you feel like you weren't worth defending." He moved closer, just a step. "But I need you to know, you are worth defending. You're worth everything, and I will never make that mistake again." Tears burned Ava's eyes. She blinked them back. "How do I know that? How do I trust that next time will be different? Because I've spent the last 2 days looking at who I've become, and I hate it. I hate the coward I turned into after Sarah. I hate the walls I built. I hate that I hurt the one person who made me feel alive again." Daniel's eyes glistened. "But more than that, I've realized something. I love you, Ava, completely. And love means fighting. It means standing up. It means choosing someone even when it's hard." There it was, out loud, face to face, not in a voicemail or letter. Real. "You love me," Ava whispered. "I love you. I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. But I've never been more sure of anything." He extended his hand. "Come with me, please. I want to show you something. Then if you want to leave, I'll understand. But please give me this chance." Ava stared at his hand. This was the moment. Walk away safe, or take another risk. Another leap into the unknown. She took his hand. Daniel's fingers closed around hers. Warm, steady, grateful. He led her through the house. Not to the sitting room or dining room, toward the back, toward the gardens she'd walked through before. But when he opened the French doors, Ava gasped. The garden was transformed. Hundreds of lanterns hung from trees, glowed along pathways, floated in the pond. They cast golden light everywhere, turning the space into something magical, something from a fairy tale. Soft music played from hidden speakers, instrumental, beautiful, romantic. "What is this?" Ava breathed. "This is me showing you what you mean to me." Daniel pulled her gently down the steps, into the garden, into the light. "This is me making a grand gesture, being brave, not hiding behind letters or words, just putting everything on the line." They walked deeper into the garden. The lanterns swayed in the breeze. The music wrapped around them like silk. Daniel stopped in the center, where the paths converged around the pond. He turned to face her. Both of his hands held both of hers now. "I've been dead for 3 years," he said quietly, "going through motions, building walls, choosing safety over life. Then your letter arrived, and suddenly I remembered what it felt like to hope, to want, to feel. Daniel, let me finish. Please, he squeezed her hands. You scare me, Ava. You scare me because you see through all my defenses. You see the broken parts I try to hide. You see the real me. And instead of running, you stayed. You wrote back. You gave me a chance. A tear slipped down Ava's cheek. I can't promise I'll be perfect, Daniel continued. I can't promise I won't make mistakes or struggle or fail sometimes. But I can promise that I will fight for you. I will defend you. I will choose you. Every single time. His voice dropped to a whisper. Because I love you, and you deserve someone who will stand beside you, no matter what. Ava's throat closed. More tears fell. Happy tears this time. Hopeful tears. Dance with me, Daniel said. Please. Just one dance. Then you can decide if you want to stay or go. He pulled her close. One arm around her waist, the other still holding her hand. They swayed together slowly, gently. To the music and the lanterns and the magic Daniel had created just for her, Ava rested her head against his chest, listened to his heartbeat. Strong, fast, nervous. I'm scared too, she whispered. I'm scared of getting hurt, of trusting this, of falling so hard so fast. I know, but I'm also falling in love with you, and I don't know how to stop. Daniel pulled back just enough to look at her face. His eyes searched hers, full of wonder, relief, joy. Then don't stop, he said. Fall with me, we'll figure it out together. He leaned down, slowly, giving her time to pull away, to say no, to protect herself. But Ava didn't pull away. She rose on her toes, met him halfway, and when their lips touched, everything else disappeared. The kiss was soft at first, gentle, questioning, then deeper, more certain, more real. Ava's hands slid up to Daniel's neck. His arms tightened around her waist. They kissed under a canopy of lanterns and stars, the music swelling around them, the world falling away completely. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing hard, smiling, transformed. Stay, Daniel whispered against her forehead. Stay tonight. Not like that. I'm not asking for anything except your company. Stay and let me show you more. Let me prove this is real. Ava nodded. She couldn't speak, could barely breathe, could only feel the love blooming in her chest. Feel the fear loosening its grip. Feel the hope she'd carried since that first letter growing into something solid and true. Okay, she finally managed. I'll stay. Daniel led Ava back inside after their dance. The lanterns still glowed behind them. The music still played. But now they walked hand in hand, connected, sure. I want to show you something else, Daniel said. Something I should have shown you from the beginning. He took her upstairs, down a long hallway Ava hadn't seen before. The walls were lined with art, real art. Beautiful paintings and photographs that probably cost more than Ava made in a year. They stopped at a door near the end of the hall. Daniel opened it, gestured for her to go first. It was a study, smaller than the sitting room downstairs, cozier. A large desk sat by the window. Bookshelves lined two walls. A comfortable reading chair sat in the corner with a lamp beside it. But it was the wall behind the desk that made Ava freeze. Her letter. The original letter she'd written to Marcus. It hung in a simple black frame, protected under glass, mounted like precious art. Below it, in smaller frames, were all the other letters. Every single one Daniel had written to her, every response she'd sent back, all preserved, all displayed, a shrine to their story. Oh my God, Ava breathed. Daniel came to stand beside her. I framed your first letter the day after I replied to you. I knew, even then, that it was important, that it had changed something fundamental in me. He touched the glass gently. Every letter after that felt like a gift. I couldn't just keep them in a drawer. I needed to honor them, honor us. Ava's eyes filled with tears again. She'd cried more in the last week than in the last year, but these were good tears, overwhelmed tears. You really cherish this, she said. Cherish us. With everything I have. Daniel turned to her. This is what Thomas doesn't understand. This isn't about loneliness or desperation or filling a void. This is about finding someone who makes the world make sense, who makes me want to be brave instead of safe, who reminds me what it means to actually live. Ava reached up, touched his face, traced the line of his jaw with her fingertips. I see you, she said softly. The real you, not the CEO or the money or the big house. Just Daniel, the man who writes letters at 3 a.m., the man who hangs lanterns in gardens, The man who's been hurt but still chooses to hope. Daniel caught her hand, kissed her palm. Stay in my life, Ava. However this works, whatever it looks like, just don't give up on us. I won't. Not anymore. They stood in the study, surrounded by letters and promises, and the beginning of something real, something worth fighting for. The days that followed were the happiest Ava had known in years, maybe ever. She and Daniel fell into an easy rhythm. Mornings, she'd find a letter on her doorstep before work. Evenings, they'd have dinner together, sometimes at the estate, sometimes at small restaurants where no one knew Daniel Cross, the CEO. Just Daniel and Ava, two people falling deeper in love. They walked through his gardens holding hands, cooked together in his massive kitchen, mostly Ava cooking while Daniel watched with adoring eyes and terrible knife skills. Talked for hours about everything and nothing. Ava told him about her dreams, about wanting to open a gallery someday, a space where local artists, especially artists from overlooked communities, could show their work, where art was accessible, not locked away behind high prices and exclusive crowds. Daniel listened with his full attention, asked questions, took notes, made her feel like her dreams mattered, were possible, were worth pursuing. He told her more about his past, about building his company from nothing, about the loneliness of success, about how he'd confused achievement with happiness for so long. I thought if I just built enough, earned enough, achieved enough, I'd finally feel fulfilled, he said one evening as they sat on his back patio. But it was like filling a bucket with a hole in the bottom. Never enough, never satisfying. What changed? Ava asked. You. That letter. The reminder that connection matters more than accomplishment, that being seen matters more than being successful. He pulled her closer on the outdoor couch. You showed me the hole in my bucket, and you helped me patch it. 3 weeks passed like a beautiful dream. Ava introduced Daniel to Maya over brunch. It was awkward at first. Maya asked pointed questions, stayed protective, but by the end, even she had to admit Daniel seemed genuine, seemed truly in love with Ava. Just be careful, Maya whispered as they hugged goodbye. I still worry. I know, but I'm happy, Maya. Really happy. Then I'm happy for you. Daniel met Ava's co-workers at a community center art show. He looked completely out of place in his expensive clothes, standing among finger paintings and clay sculptures. But he didn't act superior. He talked to the kids, praised their work, even bought 3 pieces to hang in his house. These are incredible, he told one shy girl who'd painted a sunset. You have real talent. The girl beamed. Ava's heart swelled. This was the man Thomas couldn't see, the man underneath the wealth and walls, the man who made paper lanterns and kept letters and remembered what mattered. Everything felt perfect, settled, real. Then came the dinner that changed everything. Friday evening, Daniel invited Ava to dinner at the estate again. Thomas will be there, he warned. But I want to try again. Show him how serious we are. Make him understand. Ava hesitated. The memory of their last dinner still stung. But Daniel had proven himself, had defended her in smaller ways over the past weeks, had shown her she mattered. Okay, she agreed. One more try. She dressed carefully, a deep green dress that made her brown skin glow, gold jewelry, confidence she'd built over 3 weeks of being loved. Daniel met her at the door with a kiss, long, deep, full of promise. You look stunning, he said. You always say that, because it's always true. Dinner started well. Clara had outdone herself with the food. The table was set beautifully. Candles, flowers, effort. Thomas arrived 20 minutes late. He wore a suit like always. His expression was neutral, but his eyes were sharp, assessing. Ava, he said, polite, cool. Good to see you again. You too, Thomas. They made small talk through the first course. Weather, business, nothing deep, nothing dangerous. Then, as Clara brought out the main course, Thomas set down his wine glass and looked directly at Ava. So, I've been meaning to ask, he said. His tone was casual, but Ava heard the edge underneath. How's work at the community center? Must be quite different from Daniel's world. It is, Ava said carefully, but I love it. The kids are amazing. And the pay? I imagine it's not very competitive. Ava's stomach tightened. It's enough. I'm not in it for the money. Of course not. Thomas smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Still, must be nice having access to Daniel's resources now. Makes things easier, I'd imagine. Daniel set down his fork. Thomas, what are you doing? Just making conversation. Thomas leaned back. I'm curious about Ava's intentions. That's natural, isn't it, given how quickly things have progressed between you two? My intentions are to be with Daniel, Ava said. Her voice stayed steady even as anger built inside. That's all. Is it though? Thomas pulled out his phone, scrolled through something. Because I did some digging. Your family doesn't have much money. Your apartment is rent-controlled. You have student loans, credit card debt, the kind of financial stress that might make a wealthy boyfriend seem very appealing. Thomas. Daniel's voice went hard. Dangerous. Stop. Now. I'm protecting you. Thomas looked at Daniel with something like pity. Just like I protected you after Sarah. Just like I've always protected you. You're too trusting, Daniel. Too soft. People see that, and they take advantage. Ava's hands shook in her lap. Every word landed like a slap, exposing her, humiliating her, reducing her to a gold digger, a user, a liar. You have no right, she started. I have every right. I'm Daniel's family, his partner, his closest friend. Thomas leaned forward. And I'm telling him again that you're using him, playing on his loneliness, manipulating him with letters and vulnerability and romance. But it's all fake, a calculated plan to improve your situation. That's not true. Ava stood. Her chair scraped back hard. None of that is true. I loved Daniel. I loved him before I knew who he was, before I knew about the money or the house or any of it. So you say. But convenient how you're still here, isn't it? Convenient how you've inserted yourself into his life so completely in just a few weeks. Ava looked at Daniel, waiting for him to speak, to defend her, to shut Thomas down like he'd promised. But Daniel just sat there, frozen, his face pale, his mouth opening and closing without sound. The same hesitation as before, the same fear, the same cowardice. Daniel? Ava's voice broke. Say something, please. Daniel looked between her and Thomas, torn, paralyzed, afraid. The silence stretched, painful, damning, final. Forget it. Ava grabbed her purse. Tears burned her eyes. I'm done. Ava, wait. Daniel finally found his voice, but too late. Always too late. No, I'm not doing this again. I'm not sitting here while Thomas attacks me and you do nothing. I'm not begging you to defend me. She backed toward the door. You said you'd changed. You said you'd fight for me. But when it mattered, you froze. Just like with Sarah. Just like always. That's not fair. It's completely fair. Ava's tears fell freely now. You're a coward, Daniel. A coward hiding behind letters and gestures and words. But when real life shows up, when things get hard, you disappear. She turned and ran. Through the hallway, out the front door, into the cold night air. This time Daniel didn't follow, and that hurt worse than anything. Ava drove home blinded by tears. Rage and heartbreak tangled together until she couldn't tell them apart. How could she have been so stupid? How could she have believed things would be different? Maya had been right. Men like Daniel didn't change, didn't fight, didn't choose women like her when it really mattered. She stumbled into her apartment, turned on every light. The space felt too small, too empty, too full of memories she wanted to erase. One of Daniel's letters sat on her kitchen counter, the one from this morning. She'd read it 3 times before work, smiling at his words about forever and faith and love. All lies, pretty lies wrapped in expensive paper. Ava grabbed the letter, went to her stove, turned on the burner. The flame flickered blue and orange, hypnotic, destructive. She held the letter over the fire, watched the corner catch, watched it burn, watched 3 weeks of hope turn to ash. Never again, she whispered. Her voice was hoarse from crying. Never again. The letter disappeared. Only smoke remained. Ava slid down to her kitchen floor, hugged her knees to her chest. Let the sobs come until there was nothing left inside her but emptiness. Clara found Daniel in his study an hour later. He sat at his desk, head in his hands, surrounded by the framed letters on the wall. You're an idiot, Clara said without preamble. She wasn't gentle, wasn't soft, just angry and disappointed and tired. Daniel looked up. His eyes were red, his face devastated. I know. You lost her. Again. Because you were too afraid to stand up to Thomas. I didn't know what to say. He was so aggressive, so certain. So what? Clara's voice cut like glass. He was wrong, dead wrong, and you knew it. But you sat there silent while he tore apart the woman you claim to love. I do love her. God, Clara, I love her so much it terrifies me. Then why didn't you defend her? Why didn't you tell Thomas to leave? Why didn't you choose her? Because, Daniel's voice broke, because part of me wondered if Thomas was right, if this was happening too fast, if maybe I was being naive, if... Stop, Clara held up her hand. Just stop. You're making excuses. The truth is simpler. You're afraid. Afraid of being hurt. Afraid of being wrong. afraid of losing control, so you froze. Just like with Sarah, just like Thomas said you would. Daniel flinched like he'd been struck. Sarah told you the same thing when she left, didn't she? Clara's voice softened slightly. She told you that you'd never truly fight for someone you loved, that you'd always choose comfort over courage, and tonight you proved her right. I don't know how to fix this. Daniel's hands shook. I don't know what to do. You prove you've changed, not with letters, not with romantic gestures, with action, with courage. Clara pointed at the framed letters on the wall. You honored these words, beautiful words, but words mean nothing if you won't back them up in real life. She won't forgive me. Not this time. Maybe not. But you owe her the effort. You owe her the truth. You owe her a man who will stand beside her, not behind her, not silent, but beside her, fighting for her, choosing her, no matter what Thomas or anyone else thinks. Clara left Daniel alone with his guilt and shame and regret. The letters on the wall stared at him, accusatory, proof of promises he'd failed to keep. He picked up his phone, called Ava. It went straight to voicemail. Ava, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I failed you again. I'm sorry I let fear win. I'm sorry I didn't defend you the way you deserved. He paused, swallowed hard. But I love you, and I will find a way to prove it, even if you never forgive me, even if it's too late. I will show you that I can be the man you deserve, the man I promised to be, I swear it. He hung up, stared at the letters, made a decision. Tomorrow he would fight. Tomorrow he would risk everything. Tomorrow he would prove that love was stronger than fear. Tomorrow Daniel Cross would finally be brave. Sunday morning, Ava woke to someone pounding on her door. She'd spent all day Saturday in bed, ignoring calls, ignoring texts, ignoring the world. Maya had come by twice, but Ava pretended she wasn't home. She couldn't face anyone, couldn't explain how stupid she'd been, how broken she felt. The pounding continued, insistent, urgent. Ava, open up, it's Maya. Ava dragged herself out of bed. She wore the same clothes from Friday night. Her hair was a mess. Her face felt swollen from crying. She opened the door. Maya pushed inside, her phone in her hand, her face a mixture of shock and concern. Have you seen this? Maya demanded. Seen what? Maya turned her phone around. It showed a social media post. Daniel's official business account, posted an hour ago. The image was a photo of Ava's original letter, the one Daniel had framed, the one hanging in his study. Below it, Daniel had written a long caption. 3 weeks ago, a letter arrived at my house by mistake. It was meant for someone else, but it reached me at exactly the right time. For 3 years, I've been living half a life, going through motions, building walls, choosing safety over connection. That letter, written by someone I'd never met, reminded me what it means to be truly alive. Ava Brooks wrote about hope, about second chances, about having the courage to risk your heart. She didn't know I'd read those words, didn't know they'd change my life, but they did. I fell in love with Ava, fast, completely, terrifyingly, and I failed her. Twice. I let fear make me a coward. I stayed silent when I should have fought. I hesitated when I should have chosen her without question, so I'm choosing her now, publicly, permanently, without hesitation. Ava, if you're reading this, I love you. I'm done being afraid. I'm done letting other people's doubts become my own. You are the best thing that's ever happened to me. You woke me up, made me feel, made me want to be brave. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm asking for it anyway, because I can't go back to being dead inside. Not after knowing what it's like to be alive with you. Meet me, please. Give me one more chance to prove I've changed, that I can be the man you deserve. I'll be waiting. Daniel. The post had thousands of likes, hundreds of comments, people sharing it, talking about it, making it viral. Ava stared at the screen. Her heart hammered. Her hands shook. He put this out there for the whole world to see, Maya said quietly. His business partners, his investors, everyone. He's risking his reputation, his privacy, everything. I don't understand. Why would he? Because he loves you, Ava, because he's finally fighting for you the way you needed him to. Ava sank onto her couch, read the post again, and again. Daniel's words blurred through fresh tears. He'd done it, the one thing she'd needed, the one thing she'd begged for. He'd stood up, publicly, without hesitation, without walls. What do I do? Ava whispered. Maya sat beside her, took her hand. What do you want to do? I don't know. I'm so angry at him, so hurt, but you love him. Yes. The admission came out broken, small, true. I love him so much it scares me. Then go to him. Let him prove himself. Let him show you he's changed. Maya squeezed her hand. I was wrong about him, Ava. I thought he was like every other rich guy, using you, playing games. But this, she gestured at the phone, this is real. This is a man who's finally learned what matters. What if he fails again? Then you walk away, for good. But at least you'll know you gave him every chance. At least you'll know you were brave enough to risk it. Ava looked at her sister, her protector, her constant voice of caution. You really think I should go? I think you'll regret it forever if you don't. Ava showered, changed into clean clothes, did her hair, put on makeup to hide the evidence of 2 days spent crying. Her phone buzzed constantly, friends sending her the post, strangers commenting. The whole thing had blown up into something huge, something public, something she couldn't ignore. Daniel had texted too, just one message. I'm at your work, waiting, however long it takes. Her work, the community center, where she taught art to kids, where she felt safe and useful and herself. He'd gone there, made himself vulnerable in her space. Ava drove across town with her stomach in knots. Part of her wanted to turn around, protect herself, never risk this kind of hurt again. But a bigger part, the part that had written that first letter, that had taken a chance on a stranger, that believed in love even when it was terrifying, that part pushed her forward. The community center parking lot was mostly empty. Sunday afternoon, no classes, just maintenance staff and a few volunteers. And Daniel. He stood by the front entrance, still wearing the same clothes from Friday night, his hair messy, his face exhausted, like he hadn't slept or eaten or moved since she'd left. When he saw her car pull in, he straightened. Hope and fear warred on his face. Ava got out slowly, kept her distance. Her heart pounded so hard, she thought everyone in the building could hear it. Hi, Daniel said. His voice was rough, raw. Hi, you came. Your post didn't give me much choice, it's everywhere. I know. I meant it to be. He took a step closer, stopped when Ava tensed. I needed everyone to know, needed you to know, that I'm done hiding, done being afraid, done choosing comfort over you. Words, Daniel. You're good at words, letters, romantic gestures. But when it matters, when things get hard, you disappear. I know. And I'm sorry. God, Ava, I'm so sorry. His voice cracked. But I'm here now, in front of your workplace, in front of the world, putting everything on the line, because you're worth it. We're worth it. Thomas was horrible to me, and you just sat there. I was a coward. I let old fears control me. I let doubt creep in. I hesitated when I should have defended you without question. Daniel's hands clenched at his sides. But I've spent 2 days thinking, really thinking, about what matters, about who I want to be. And the answer is simple. I want to be someone you can count on, someone who fights for you, someone brave enough to choose love over fear. Ava's throat tightened. How do I know you won't freeze again next time? Because I fired Thomas. The words hung in the air, heavy, final, shocking. What? I fired him yesterday, removed him from the company, cut him out of my life. Daniel's voice was steady now, certain. He was my cousin, my business partner, my oldest friend. But he disrespected you, twice. And I can't have someone in my life who treats the woman I love like that. Ava's breath caught. You fired him? Your family? You're more important. Love is more important. I should have done it Friday night. Should have stood up and told him to leave. Should have chosen you immediately. But I'm choosing you now, and I'll keep choosing you every single time. Tears spilled down Ava's cheeks. You really did that? For me? For us? For the man I want to be? For the life I want to live? Daniel moved closer. Just one step. Thomas was wrong about you. You're not using me. You're not after money. You're the most genuine person I've ever met, and I was an idiot to let his doubts become mine. What did he say when you fired him? He called me weak, said I was making a mistake, said you'd leave anyway once you got what you wanted. Daniel's jaw tightened. But he's wrong, and even if he was right, even if you do leave, at least I'll know I fought for you. At least I'll know I was brave enough to try. Ava wiped her eyes, looked at this man who'd stumbled into her life through a mistake, who'd written her letters and hung lanterns and framed her words, who'd failed her, who'd hurt her, who was standing here now vulnerable and public and completely exposed, who loved her enough to risk everything. I burned your letter, she whispered, the one from Friday morning. I burned it and said I'd never trust you again. Pain flashed across Daniel's face, but he nodded, accepted it. I understand. I broke your trust. I don't blame you for wanting to erase me. But I couldn't erase the others. I tried. I stood in my apartment holding them, ready to throw them away. But I couldn't do it. She stepped closer. Because despite everything, despite the hurt and the fear and the anger, I still love you. And I hate that I do. But I can't stop. Then don't stop. Daniel closed the distance between them. His hands came up to cup her face, gentle, reverent. Don't stop loving me. Let me prove I've changed. Let me show you what we can be, if I'm brave enough to fight for us. What if you fail again? Then you walk away. And I'll spend the rest of my life regretting it. But Ava, his voice dropped to barely a whisper, I won't fail again. I can't, because losing you would destroy me. Ava looked up at him, at the exhaustion in his face, the determination in his eyes, the love radiating from every pore. This was the moment, the choice. Protect herself and walk away safe, or take one more risk, one more leap, one more chance at something real. Prove it, she said, right now. Prove you'll stand by me. How? Tell me how and I'll do it. Maya's here in the parking lot watching us. Ava had seen her sister's car pull in a few minutes ago. She still has doubts. She still worries you'll hurt me. Tell her to her face that you won't. Daniel didn't hesitate. He turned toward Maya's car, raised his voice so it carried across the parking lot. Maya, I need to talk to you. Maya got out slowly, suspicious, protective. She walked toward them with her arms crossed. What do you want, Daniel? I want to apologize for letting Thomas disrespect your sister, for failing to defend her when it mattered, for being a coward. Daniel's voice was clear, strong. But more than that, I want you to know that I love Ava, completely, and I will spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of her, that I'll fight for her, that I'll choose her over comfort, over peace, over everything. Maya studied him, silent, calculating. Then she looked at Ava. Do you believe him? Ava met Daniel's eyes, saw everything she needed to see, the love, the determination, the courage that had finally broken through his walls. Yes, Ava said, I believe him. Maya nodded slowly. Then she turned back to Daniel. If you hurt her again, if you make her cry one more time, I will destroy you. Money or no money, CEO or not, I will make your life a living hell. Understood? Understood and welcomed. She deserves that protection. Daniel extended his hand. Thank you for looking out for her. She's lucky to have you. Maya shook his hand, brief, firm. A truce. Not friendship yet, but acceptance. Don't make me regret this, Maya said. Then she looked at Ava. Call me later. I will. Maya left, drove away, left Ava and Daniel standing in the parking lot, alone, together, at the beginning of something new. Did I pass your test? Daniel asked softly. You did. But this isn't about tests, Daniel. This is about trust, about building something real, about both of us being brave enough to fight for each other. I'm ready, are you? Ava reached up, pulled his face down to hers, kissed him hard, kissed him like she meant it, like she was choosing him, like she was all in. When they pulled apart, both were smiling, real smiles, full of hope and promise and love. I'm ready, Ava said. 3 weeks later, Ava sat at Daniel's kitchen counter. She watched him try to cook breakfast. He was terrible at it. Burned the toast, overcooked the eggs, made coffee so strong it could strip paint, but he tried, and that mattered. Clara walked in, shook her head at the disaster, and gently pushed Daniel aside. Let me handle this before you burn the house down. Daniel laughed, came around the counter to where Ava sat, kissed the top of her head. Maybe cooking isn't my strength. You have other strengths, Ava said. She held up a letter he'd left on her pillow that morning. She'd started staying over on weekends, taking things slow but steady, building trust one day at a time. The letter was short, simple, but it made her heart swell every time she read it. Good morning, my love. Thank you for staying. Thank you for believing in us. Thank you for being brave enough to give me another chance. I won't waste it, I promise. You're still writing them, Ava said. I'll write them forever if you want me to. I do want that. The letters are special. They're us. Clara served them actual edible breakfast. They ate together, talking about Ava's upcoming art show at the community center. Daniel had helped fund it, used his connections to bring in more local artists, turned it into something bigger than Ava had dreamed. You didn't have to do all this, Ava said. The funding, the publicity, the sponsors, I wanted to. Your dream matters. Making it happen matters. Daniel squeezed her hand. Besides, supporting local artists is good for the community. It's the kind of thing I should have been doing all along instead of just building more office buildings. You're different now, lighter, happier. Because of you. They finished breakfast. Clara cleared the dishes. Daniel led Ava back to his study, their study now, the place where their letters lived on the wall, their story preserved in frames and ink and vulnerable words. He pulled out a chair at the desk, gestured for her to sit, placed fresh paper and a pen in front of her. "What's this?" Ava asked. "Write me a letter, a new one, not because we're apart or fighting or scared, just because you want to, because this is us." Ava picked up the pen, looked at the blank paper, at Daniel standing behind her, his hands gentle on her shoulders, at the framed letters on the wall documenting every step of their journey. She started writing. "Dear Daniel, 3 months ago, I wrote a letter meant for someone else. I thought I knew what I wanted. I thought I knew what love looked like, but I was wrong. Love isn't safe, it isn't perfect, it isn't a letter that arrives at the right address with no complications. Love is messy, scary, vulnerable. It's taking risks even when you're terrified. It's fighting for each other even when it's hard. It's choosing to be brave together. You've taught me that. You've shown me that real love isn't about grand gestures or perfect moments. It's about showing up, standing up, being honest even when it hurts. I love you, Daniel Cross. Not because you're rich or successful or can hang 1,000 lanterns in a garden, but because you're willing to be real with me, to be broken and scared and uncertain, to let me see all of you, the good and the messy and the still learning. This letter is meant for you, finally, completely, without question. Thank you for finding me. Thank you for writing back. Thank you for choosing me even when it was terrifying. I choose you too. Every day, forever, with all my love, Ava." She set down the pen. Her eyes were wet, but her heart was full, overflowing. Daniel read the letter over her shoulder. His arms came around her waist. He buried his face in her neck. "Thank you," he whispered, "for this, for us, for not giving up. Thank you for being brave enough to fight." They stood like that for a long moment, connected, safe, together in the study surrounded by their story. Then Ava carefully folded the letter, put it in an envelope, sealed it with a kiss. She turned in Daniel's arms, placed the envelope in his hands. "This time, it's meant for you." Daniel's eyes shone with tears, happy tears, grateful tears. He held the envelope like the treasure it was. "I'll keep it forever," he said. "Good, because I'm not going anywhere." They kissed, soft, deep, full of promise and hope and the beautiful mess of real love. 6 months later, Ava stood in her new art gallery. Well, hers and Daniel's. They'd bought the space together, renovated it together, filled it with artwork from local artists who deserved to be seen. The opening night was packed. People from all over the city, rich and poor, black and white, young and old, everyone together, appreciating art that mattered, art that told stories, art that made people feel. Maya stood beside her, sipping wine and looking proud. "You did it, sis. Your dream came true. We did it. You helped too. With the legal stuff and the contracts and all the boring business things I hate. That's what sisters are for." Maya smiled, genuine, warm. "I'm proud of you, and I'm happy you found Daniel. I was wrong about him. He's good for you. He is. He really is." Daniel appeared through the crowd. He'd been talking to potential buyers, making connections, using his business skills for something meaningful. He wore a simple suit, nothing flashy, just present, supportive, there for Ava without taking over her moment. "There's someone here to see you," Daniel said. He led her to the back of the gallery, to a quiet corner away from the crowd. Clara stood there. She wore a beautiful dress. Her face glowed with pride. "Clara, you came." "Of course I came. Wouldn't miss this for the world." Clara hugged her tight. "The gallery is beautiful, dear. Just perfect. Thank you for everything, for believing in us from the beginning. I just encouraged. You two did all the hard work." Clara pulled back, looked at both of them with knowing eyes. "You're happy, both of you. It shows." "We are," Daniel said, his arm wrapped around Ava's waist. "Happier than I ever thought possible." Clara smiled, patted Daniel's cheek. "Your parents would be proud of the man you've become, not because of the money or success, but because you finally learned what matters." She left them alone in the quiet corner. The party continued around them, but here, in their small space, everything felt peaceful, right, complete. "Thank you," Ava said, "for all of this, for believing in my dream, for making it real." It was always real. I just helped make it visible. Daniel turned to face her, took both her hands. Ava, I need to tell you something. Okay. I love you. I've loved you since that first letter, since that first conversation, since the moment you looked at me and saw the real person underneath everything else. I know I love you too, but I want to love you forever, officially, permanently. Daniel reached into his pocket, pulled out a small box. Ava's breath caught. I'm not asking yet, Daniel said quickly, because we agreed to take things slow, build trust, make sure we're solid, and we are. We're so solid, Ava. But when the time comes, when we're both ready, I want you to know I'm all in, forever. He opened the box. Inside was a ring, simple, elegant, a single diamond that caught the light and sparkled like all their letters and hopes and dreams combined. This is a promise, Daniel said, a promise that I will keep choosing you, keep fighting for you, keep being brave enough to love you completely. And someday, when you're ready, I hope you'll wear it. Tears streamed down Ava's face. Happy tears, overwhelmed tears, tears full of joy and love and the beautiful certainty of forever. Someday soon, she whispered, very soon. Daniel smiled. That transformation she loved, the exhaustion and walls completely gone, just happiness, pure and real and true. He closed the box, put it back in his pocket. No rush. I'll wait as long as you need. I don't need long. You've proven yourself 100 times over. You've shown me what real love looks like. We showed each other. They kissed there in the corner of Ava's gallery, surrounded by art and dreams and the life they'd built together from a single mistaken letter. When they pulled apart, Ava rested her head against Daniel's chest, listened to his heartbeat, steady, strong, hers. Thank you for finding me, she whispered. Thank you for writing that letter, for being brave enough to put your heart on paper, for not giving up on us even when I failed you. We both failed. We both learned. We both grew. She looked up at him. That's what love is. Not perfection. Just two people choosing each other over and over again. I'll choose you forever. Good, because I'm choosing you right back. That night, after the gallery closed and the guests left, Ava and Daniel sat in their study. The framed letters glowed in the lamplight, each one a chapter in their story, each one a testament to vulnerability and courage and love. Ava pulled out fresh paper, started writing. Dear Daniel, today was perfect. The gallery, the people, the art, but the best part was you, standing beside me, supporting my dream, loving me exactly as I am. I spent so long thinking love meant finding someone perfect, someone safe, someone who'd never hurt me or fail me or disappoint me. But you've taught me that real love is different. It's finding someone willing to grow with you, to fail and try again, to be honest even when it's hard, to fight for each other even when it's scary. You're not perfect, I'm not perfect, but together, we're perfectly us. Thank you for writing back to that first letter. Thank you for taking a chance on a stranger. Thank you for showing me that sometimes the best things in life arrive at the wrong address. I love you. Today, tomorrow, forever. Always yours, Ava. She sealed the letter, placed it in Daniel's hands, watched his face as he read it, watched love and gratitude and joy transform his expression. This is why I write them, Daniel said softly. These letters, they're our foundation, our truth, the most real thing we have. We have more than letters now. We have trust, partnership, love that's been tested and proven. We do. He pulled her close. But I'll never stop writing them. These letters are us, our story. I want to fill 100 walls with them. Then we better get a bigger house. Daniel laughed. That beautiful sound Ava loved, free and unguarded and completely real. They sat together in the study, writing, reading, sharing, building their forever one honest word at a time. Outside, the world continued, busy and complicated and full of challenges. But inside their study, inside their love, everything was simple, clear, true. Two people who'd found each other through a mistake, who'd fought for each other through fear, who'd chosen each other over comfort and safety and walls. Two people who'd learned that love wasn't about perfect timing or right addresses or flawless journeys. Love was about courage, vulnerability, the willingness to write your truth and trust someone else to honor it. Love was messy and scary and hard, but it was also the most beautiful thing in the world, and Ava and Daniel had found it, against odds, through mistakes, because sometimes the wrong address leads you exactly where you're meant to be. 1 year later, Ava stood in Daniel's garden, their garden, wearing a simple white dress, flowers woven through her natural hair. Her hands held a single piece of paper, not a letter this time. Wedding vows. Daniel stood across from her in a dark suit. His eyes shone with tears. Happy tears. Grateful tears. Tears for the journey that had brought them here. Maya stood beside Ava as maid of honor. She smiled through her own tears. Proud. Happy. No more doubts. No more warnings. Just love for her sister and the man who'd proven himself worthy. Clara sat in the front row, beaming, maternal, the woman who'd believed in them from the very beginning. And scattered throughout the garden were their closest friends, the kids from Ava's art classes, artists from the gallery, a few of Daniel's business associates who'd become real friends, people who'd watched their love story unfold and believed in it. No Thomas. He'd tried to reach out months ago, tried to apologize, but Daniel had held firm. Some boundaries had to remain. Some choices had to stay clear. Ava came first. Always. The officiant spoke about love and commitment and journeys that begin in unexpected ways. Then it was time for vows. Daniel went first. He didn't read from paper, just spoke from his heart. Ava, you saved my life. Not in a dramatic way, but in every small way that matters. You reminded me what it means to feel, to hope, to be brave enough to love completely. His voice cracked. I promise to fight for you, to choose you, to never let fear make me silent when you need me to speak. I promise to fill our lives with letters and lanterns and truth. I promise to love you, all of you, for the rest of my days. Ava wiped her eyes, then unfolded her paper, her vows, written in her own hand, just like that first letter. Daniel, you found me when I was lost. You saw me when I felt invisible. You loved me when I thought I wasn't worth loving. She smiled through tears. I promise to be brave with you, to trust you even when it's scary, to build dreams together and fill our walls with letters and our life with joy. I promise to love you, all of you, through failure and success, through fear and courage, through every messy, beautiful moment we share. They exchanged rings, simple bands inscribed with words only they could see, meant for you. They kissed, long, deep, full of promise. Their guests cheered. Music played. Lanterns hanging from the trees swayed in the evening breeze. And in that moment, surrounded by love and light and people who believed in them, Ava and Daniel began the next chapter of their story. Not perfect, never perfect, but real, true, theirs. That evening the reception ended late. Guests departed. The caterers cleaned up. Finally, Ava and Daniel were alone in their garden. The lanterns still glowed. The music still played softly. They slow danced under the stars. Just the two of them, husband and wife, partners, forever. I can't believe you're mine, Daniel whispered. I can't believe you're mine either. What do you think younger us would say? The people we were before that letter? Ava thought about it. The woman who'd been too scared to tell Marcus how she felt. The man who'd hidden behind walls for 3 years. I think they'd be proud of us, for being brave, for not giving up, for choosing love, even when it was terrifying. I think they'd be shocked we made it work. We almost didn't. We failed each other. We hurt each other. We nearly lost everything. But we didn't, because we kept choosing each other. Daniel pulled her closer. That's what marriage is, right? Choosing each other every day, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Exactly. They danced until the music stopped, until the lanterns began to dim, until exhaustion finally set in. But before going inside, Daniel led Ava to their study, to the wall of letters that had grown even fuller over the months. Every letter preserved, every word honored, their entire love story documented in frames and ink and vulnerable truth. He pulled out fresh paper, 2 sheets, handed one to Ava with a pen. One more letter? He asked, to end our wedding day. You're insatiable. For you. Always. They sat at the desk, side by side, writing. Ava wrote about joy, about dreams coming true, about finding home in another person, about love that had been tested and proven and grown stronger through every challenge. Daniel wrote about gratitude, about second chances, about the wrong address that had led him to exactly the right person, about spending the rest of his life making her happy. They finished at the same moment, exchanged letters, read them, smiled through fresh tears. Then Ava stood, walked to the wall, found the perfect spot. She hung her wedding vows next to Daniel's, their promises preserved forever, their truth displayed for all to see. Our story, she said softly, Our beautiful, messy, perfect story. Daniel wrapped his arms around her from behind. They stood together looking at the wall, at every chapter, every moment, every word that had brought them here. Thank you, he whispered into her hair, for that first letter, for every letter after, for not giving up on us. Thank you for writing back, for being brave enough to try, for loving me completely, always, forever. They turned off the light, left the study, went upstairs to begin their first night as husband and wife, but the letters remained, glowing softly in the darkness, a testament to courage and vulnerability and love that had started with a simple mistake, a wrong address that had been exactly right, a letter meant for someone else that had found its true destination, a love story written one honest word at a time, and somewhere in the darkness, if you listened carefully, you could almost hear the letters whispering their truth. Love doesn't arrive in perfect packages. It doesn't come with guarantees or maps or safe instructions. Love arrives in messy, unexpected ways, through mistakes and courage and the willingness to risk everything for something real. Love is a letter sent to the wrong address. Love is having the bravery to write back. Love is choosing each other, over and over again, every single day. That's what Ava and Daniel had learned. That's what their story proved. And that's what every letter on their wall declared. Love is worth the risk, always, forever, completely.